Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and in today's tutorial we're going to be making these cute little donuts. They're really easy to do and super fun to make, so let's get into it. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to be using this baby Snuggle yarn in baby blue, and this is going to be my color B yarn. And I'm going to be using this Honey Bunny yarn in beige for my color A yarn. I'm going to be using a 5.5 millimeter hook. We're also going to need 2 different types of colored yarn, or 3 or 4 for the sprinkles, whatever you would like to do. And I'm just using a worsted weight yarn just because I find that the detailing is nicer with the bigger yarn to use the smaller weight yarn, but you can use whatever you'd like. We're also going to need a darning needle, some scissors, a stitch marker, some fabric pins, and some fiber fill. So once we've gathered all of our supplies, we can get into it. All right, so to begin for row 1 of our donut, we are going to make a slip knot. And from our slip knot, we are going to make 16 chains. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So this is what we're looking like for row 1. Now what we want to do is we want to attach the 16th chain back to the first chain to create a circle. So just bring your first chain over, and we're just going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull through, and we're going to make a slip stitch here. And so there is our circle. Now when you're doing this, just make sure that you're working into the top of this, and you also want to make sure that you're working in the right direction because it can kind of get confusing. So for row 2, we're going to place a single crochet in each stitch around for a total of 16 stitches. So insert yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And that is our row 2 complete. Now I like to use just a strand of yarn for my stitch marker, but I would place your stitch marker now if you have one. And we're going to move on to row 3. So for row 3, we're going to do a combination of single crochet and an increase stitch. So single crochet and an increase stitch, which is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch, and then a single crochet and an increase. Now we're going to complete this 8 times, and our stitch count at the end of this row should be 24. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, and one last time, single crochet, increase, just like that. Move our stitch marker up. Now for row 4, we're going to do a combination of 2 single crochets and an increased stitch. So 1, 2, and increase. 1, 2, increase. Now you're going to repeat that 8 times around, and your stitch count at the end of this row should be 32. And I will meet you at the end of this row, row 4. And that is the end of row 4. Now for row 5, we're going to do a combination of 3 single crochets and an increased stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase. 1, 2, 3, and an increase. Again, we're going to do this 8 times, and our final stitch count should be 40 at the end of this row. So finish row 5 and we'll meet back here. All right, so for row 6, we're going to do a combination of 4 single crochet and an increased stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase. And again, we're going to do this 8 times for a final stitch count of 48. And an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And just complete that all the way around for row 6, and I'll meet you at the end of row 6. All right, so that is rows 1 through 6 completed. Now, moving on to row 7, you're going to have a couple options here. Now, if you've decided to just do your donut as one solid color and you're not going to do a color change, you're going to complete rows 7 to 11 doing single crochet 48 around. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So that's if you're not going to change your color, you're just going to leave it one solid color. For rows 7 and 11, you're going to crochet 48 in each round. Now, if we're going to do a color change, we are going to do single crochet 48 in rows 7, 8, and 9, and then we will make our color change. So I'm going to do the color change so I can show you guys. So I'm going to do 48 single crochets around for rows 7, 8, and 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and I will meet you at the end of row 9 if you're doing a color change. And if you're not doing a color change, I will put a timestamp right here for where you should skip to for row 12. All right, so that is rows 1 through 9 completed. Now for our color change, our last stitch of row 9, we're not actually going to finish it with the color A yarn. We're just going to leave the 2 loops on our hook, and I'm just going to cut my color A yarn. And I'm going to grab my color B yarn, which for me is the blue, And I'm going to grab it with my hook and I'm going to pull through to finish that last single crochet. And now I have the blue yarn on my hook. Now for this project, we're going to be doing the invisible color change. Now that means that we're going to do a row of slip stitches and then a row of single crochets, but we're not going to count the slip stitch row as its own. So what we're going to do for row 10 is we're going to make a slip stitch in the back loop only of each stitch around. And you want to make them pretty loose so that we can get into them later, and you don't want it to cause any new tension on the middle of your project if you make them too tight. So back loop only, yarn over, pull through and pull through. And we're going to do this all the way around for 48 stitches. And this is going to be considered row 10A because it's such a small row, like it's not very deep. I don't count it as its own row. It doesn't add much more height to your project as it would be normally. So we're just going to go around and place our slip stitches in the back loop only of each stitch around until we get to the other side. So this is what we're looking like at the end of row 10A. Now for 10B, we are going to place a single crochet in the back loop only of our slip stitch row that we just did. So back loop only, we're going to place a single crochet all the way around, so 48 single crochets in the back loop only. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's what we're looking like. So I will meet you at the other end. Just complete your single crochets in the back loop only for row 10B. And that is row 10A and 10B complete. And as you can see, it creates this really nice clean line between the two colors so that you have a really clean color change. Now moving on to row 11, again, we're going to just do 48 single crochets around, but now we're just going to do them normal. We're going to go under both of the stitches on the top and crochet 48 around. So just make 48 single crochets for row 11 and I'll meet you back here for row 12. All right, moving on to row 12, we are going to start our decrease rounds now. So for row 12, we're going to do a combination of 4 single crochets plus a decrease stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I like to do the invisible decrease. So under the front loop of the first stitch and the front loop of the second stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops. You should have 2 on your hook, yarn over and pull through. Single crochet 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and our decrease stitch. And you're going to do this all the way around 8 times for a final stitch count of 40. and a decrease. So just complete row 12 that way, and I will meet you back here for row 13. All right, for row 13, we are going to do the combination single crochet 3 and a decrease stitch. So 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. Again, you're going to complete this 8 times for a total stitch count of 32. 1, 2, 3, decrease. So I will finish this row off camera and I'll meet you back here for row 14. For row 14, we're going to do the combination single crochet 2, decrease. So 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. You can do this 8 times as well. And your stitch count at the end of this row is going to be 24. And that is row 14 complete. We just have one more row to do, row 15. We're going to do single crochet and a decrease. So 1 single crochet, decrease, 1 single crochet, decrease, and you're going to do this 8 times as well for a final stitch count of 16. Single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, and one more single crochet and a decrease. And that is your completed donut thus far. So I'm just going to remove the stitch marker and I'm just going to place a slip stitch into this next stitch here. I'm going to cut my yarn with like about 12 to 16 inch tail and just pull that through. So the blue portion is going to be the top or the icing, and the beige is going to be the bottom. Just stick your yarn ends inside the donut. And we are going to start sewing this together. So you want to just take your darning needle and attach it to your yarn end. I personally want to use the icing color or the color B yarn end to sew this together. And you're just going to flatten it out and see where your stitches align. You should have 16 stitches here on the icing side and 16 stitches on the donut side. And we're going to sew those together. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just stick my hook under the icing, the color bee yarn, and the third loop of our original chain 16 that we made at the very beginning of our project. And I'm just going to pull that through. And then I'm going to go to the next stitch. Insert under here, under color A and color B, and pull. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now once I have 8 stitches sewn together, I'm going to start stuffing before moving on. So basically I just stick the stuffing in the open area, and then using my fingers, I'm just going to push it into the area I've already sewn together to fill that our area up. You just don't want to overstuff so that your stitches are separating, but you also want to stuff enough that you're keeping the shape of your donut. And try and make it as even as you can. So that's feeling pretty good so far. So once you're kind of where you'd like to be, we're going to keep sewing it together all the way across. So there's 9, and you're just going to continue to stuff as you go. So every few stitches, that's 10 and 11. And then I'll just add a little bit more stuffing. And probably around this area, between 11 to 13 stitches sewn together, I would just finish stuffing the entire donut because your hole's going to get too small. To get the stuffing into. Make sure it's even, you don't have any big lumps of too much stuffing in one spot or not enough stuffing in one spot. And once you're happy with your stuffing, we will just continue to sew these together until it's closed off. All right, and once you have all of your stitches sewn together, I just like to make a tiny knot just for extra security. And then I'll just weave my ends through. Cut my yarn end. And there is my donut completed. Now, the last thing that I like to do is I like to add a little bit of the sprinkles. So I'm just going to add yellow and purple sprinkles to mine, but you add whatever color you'd like. So again, we're going to just use our darning needle. And there's no real trick to this. I just find doing some straight across, some on angles, different ways, making sure that you're making space for both colors. I think that makes it look fantastic, but you just do it however you want to. So I'm just going to go around and make my sprinkles. I like to leave them pretty loose. You don't want to pull them too tight, or it's going to change the look of your donut. It's going to bring in your stitches a little bit, and it's going to kind of make the donut look a little lumpy on the top. So just don't put too much tension on your sprinkles. Just make them just loosely on the top like that. So just go around with your first color, make all your sprinkles, and I'm going to do this off camera, and then I'm going to add in my second color and do the exact same thing, just making them kind of everywhere and anywhere. No rhyme or reason to where I'm placing these. So I will meet you back here once your sprinkles are all done. So here are my sprinkles added on. It's just kind of random, doesn't really make sense. I just kind of put them wherever until I liked it. And then I just entered and exited in the same spots for both colors. So once I'm happy with my sprinkles, I just tie a little knot here just to keep them secured for both colors. And then I just like to take a smaller hook than the one I'm used to using with this yarn, and I just weave in these ends, being careful not to pull too hard because it will pull your sprinkles tight, at least the ones in the beginning and the end if you pull too hard. So just work those in. Like that. And there is your completed donut. I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. It's such a fun pattern, super, super easy to do, and so many opportunities for different colors and sprinkles and whatever you want to do. So please tag us either here on YouTube or in our Instagram if you guys make this donut so we can see your makes. We always love to see what you guys create. And please subscribe if you haven't already. And otherwise, we hope you guys have a lovely day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.